Hey everyone, True here, and today we are going to check out the new bright white light, Snow White, dazzling white, bright Snow White, a light character. And not only that, but more on that later, she has a speed of 227, which is not that fast, but because of her passives, this is really only important if you run her up front. Let's jump right into her skill set, and as a first active skill we actually see a skill that doesn't deal any damage whatsoever. It just doubles the current ally spirit, and it is called double spirit. It costs 0 spirit, I mean that makes sense. If ally spirit is actually 0, then you actually gain 1 spirit instead, so this move is never quite wasted, although I would argue that at 0 spirit producing 1 spirit for 100 time units and dealing no damage whatsoever is not really a great trade. And then we actually see Light Snow White's only damage dealing skill, and it is called Little Bright Garden, costs 2 spirit and 100 time units, and it actually deals 600% damage to 1 enemy and ignores enemy damage reduction effects. But it's only usable if you have 6 or more spirits, or if all allies on the battlefield are at maximum HP, which is an interesting condition, I have to say. Then as a third skill, we get another instant skill, and this time it is Instant Restoration, gives 1 spirit, costs 1 time unit, and it actually removes negative status effects like sleep, burn, or poison from 1 ally. That could even be Snow White herself, I think. And it heals them for HP equal to 500% of the attack of Snow White. This skill becomes locked for 50 time units after use, so of course it cannot be spammed, but whenever she gets the turn and didn't just use Instant Restoration, she should be able to use it, and that may be part of the thought process behind the condition for Little Bright Garden, because maybe there's just 1 unit that isn't at max HP on your team, and then she can use Instant Restoration and immediately afterwards the Little Bright Garden. Now the last skill is where things get really interesting, and we see something that has never happened before in Evertale. We see a unit that can basically change her element. I mean, yes, technically she becomes a new character, but Light Snow White is no longer Snow White, but she actually turns into Snow Black. All the stats are basically an exact copy of Snow White, and Snow Black will start with full HP and of course with her very own active and passive skill set. What's the requirement for the Dark Transformation? There's 2 ways to unlock it. Either Light Snow White did survive for 300 time units on the battlefield, so kind of a survivor's condition, or a non-conjured enemy on the battlefield is defeated or sacrificed. So kind of like a savage skill, but she doesn't have to kill the enemy herself. It's enough if anybody on the team makes the enemy die, or even if someone on the enemy team sacrifices the unit, like for example an Earth Rainer. One important thing about the unlocking of this skill though is that if she gets the turn and she can use the Dark Transformation, then she has to use the Dark Transformation. She cannot use any of the other skills anymore, which is a bit unfortunate, definitely a bit of a nerf to her skill set. Let's take a quick look at her passive skills before turning over to the other Snow Black character. We see Brightest Light as a passive skill, and Brightest Light basically means light speed entry, so if she comes in from the reinforcement, she will immediately get the turn. That also includes if she comes in from a transformation, and also ally spirit is doubled. This is not only if she enters from reinforcements, but also at the start of the battle, so she would possibly turn your 4 spirit at the start into 8 spirit right away. And another very important part of her skill set is the Hold Ground Plus, not a passive that is completely new, but given her skill set, especially important. So she is definitely going to survive with 1 HP until she gets another turn and can then possibly heal back or do a transformation. Now turning to the dark side, and we see as a first active skill of Snow Black, the Dark Summons. Fitting for the dark side, she deals 75% damage to one enemy for 70 time units, producing 1 spirit. And other than that, there's 2 options. If she is at 50% HP or less, then she will actually exchange the current HP with the amount of HP she has lost, so basically a life flip. If not, she actually summons 2 Kuromoris to the very end of allied reinforcements, so we have 2 auto guards in the back then. Then we see Blood Revelry. As the name already says, it is a blood skill, so it sacrifices the last unit in the allied reinforcements for 600% damage to one enemy. It also heals her for 100% HP. It ignores enemy damage reduction effects, and she can actually still use it if there are no reinforcements left. But for example, there's still a Kuromori on the battlefield. She would then just sacrifice all the Kuromoris on the battlefield to do this skill. And then we get as a third skill a really massive skill. It's called Little Dark Garden. It costs 160 TU, which is quite a lot. It also costs 4 spirit, which is quite a lot, but it also does quite a lot. It deals 500% damage to all enemies. It ignores the stealth status effect and enemy damage reduction effects. Notably, this does not ignore counter or skin passives, and she has to unlock it first. So it is a savage skill. She needs to have defeated 1 unit with attacks while on the battlefield, which she obviously can do with the Dark Summons or the Blood Revelry. And then as a fourth skill, we see another transformation. So basically the transformation back to her light version, the light transformation skill. This one doesn't produce any spirit, but it stuns 1 enemy for 150 time units, which is quite nice. And then Snow White will return with full HP, similar to Snow Black before her, but of course now she is treated as a conjured unit. What's the requirement to unlock the light transformation? It is that a non-conjured ally on the battlefield is defeated or sacrificed by any source. So this is again basically a vengeance skill similar to the one of Storm Jean, or rather Storm Michaela. Again, this skill has to be used. There's no other options for her. If she gets the turn and it is unlocked, then she has to do the light transformation, which again is a nerf for Snow Black, especially considering that she has a savage skill. Okay, what are her passives? Quite similar actually to the brightest light of Snow White. Here we have the darkest night of Snow Black, and she immediately gets the turn when she comes onto the battlefield. Again, light speed entry, and she also adds 2 Kuromoris to the very end of allied reinforcements. So instead of doubling the spirit, here we see 2 Moris, 2 auto guards added to the back. And just as Snow White, she also has the Hold Ground Plus, which is again quite important. That's it for now, with a lot of skills covered, thanks to 2 units basically again being released inside 1 unit. The Bright Snow White and Snow Black with their own story event going along with it that is live right now. I have a lot of thoughts on this new character, and of course the AI analysis also plays a very important role for how good a character can become. We do know the skill set now, but everything else I am going to cover in another video where I dive deep into her potential for Arena and War, so stay tuned for that. Thanks to Lens.js and Saturn for the materials that were used in this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to become a true carrot, and as always, thanks for watching.